Alright, Shalom Akim. I like to say Kal Halayim, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rekakodash. Double L's the apostles and elders of great millstone that rule well. Peace and salutation to the Akim around the world that pushes through to the four corners of the earth. Right, I'd like to go through some precepts and entitle it, forget the title. The Lord, that's not trying to paraphrase it. The Lord never said that you could sin, He spoke against it. I believe that is the title, or somewhere near to that. It's a concept based on, people like to talk about, through grace. That means that sin is no longer, you're no longer affected by sin, or the Lord came to fulfill the law, so sin doesn't affect you anymore. But it's not like that. You understand? So read up in the Apocrypha, right? The book of Sirach 15 verse 20, it say, He had commanded no man to do wickedly, neither had he given any man license to sin. Right? So that here. And this is something that never changed, even in the time of Mashiach, when he walked. Because even when he did heal people, and he was doing all these miracles, what he was telling the people, he was telling them, keep the commandments. Right? It said in John 14 verse 15, it say, if you love me, keep my commandments. And this is a vibration that he used to push even when he used to walk. You understand? Now, some people like to talk about with the grace and so forth. I think I'll do another video, pertaining to that, about grace and how grace actually affected the law. But it's not to say that you could just do what you want now. You understand? If that was the case, he wouldn't have repetitively in so many places talk against transgression and actually talk about fulfilling the law. Even he himself said he came to fulfill the law. You understand? And I wasn't to fulfill the law, whereas that you could do whatever you want now. No. Because he wouldn't tell them, like I said, he wouldn't tell them to keep doing the law. And the apostles, even after he died, when they were going about preaching, they were also telling others to keep the law. Why? If he came to destroy the law so that sin would no longer affect anybody else, why would he constantly be pushing it out to keep the law? That wouldn't make any sense. Right? I believe it's John 5. John 5, I'll read verse 14, right? I'm going to make the video too long. I'll read verse 14. And if you're reading a little bit up, I believe straight back to John 4, it was talking about the man who couldn't walk because he was lame in his feet. Right? Is either in John 4 or earlier in this one. Yeah, because talk about the Jews, verse 10, it said, the Jews therefore said unto him that was cured, it is the Sabbath day, it is not lawful for thee to carry thy bed. Because I when Mashiach did heal him, you understand, and he was able to walk again because he was lame in his feet. I believe it was from since birth he was lame in his feet. Right? And he told him to pick up his bed and walk. And he picked up his bed, he believed, and he picked up his bed and he actually walked. And the people were amazed because people knew him to be somebody who was crippled. So Yahushua healed him, right? Yahushua is the name of his son, and Yahweh is the name of the Father in Hebrew, right? And when he met him after, what did he tell him? This is verse 14, right? John 5 verse 14. It say, afterwards Yahushua findeth him in the temple, and said unto him, behold, thou art made whole. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto thee. You understand? And that worse thing come unto thee, we will get a precept in the after. But you see how it's showing you that he was telling them what? He was telling them, go forth and sin no more. Now Mashiach knew what his role was. He knew he came to die for the sins of Israel. But if it really was that he came to remove sin, that he was no longer affected by it, then why would he tell him not to sin anymore? Why didn't he just tell him, well, all right, I come to save you, so no matter what you do now, you're safe, don't worry yourself, just believe in me and that's it? No, he didn't tell him that. He told him, sin no more. And there's a reason for that. You understand? He say, if you love me, what? Keep my commandments. They also say it in First John 5. It said, this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments. Right? I'll read John 8. John 8, I'll start from 3, right? John 8, I'll start from 2. It's saying early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them. And the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. And when they had sat her in the midst, they say unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery, in the very act. It said, now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned. But what sayest thou? You understand? Verse 6, it say, this they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him, because they was trying to, put him up. They was trying to make it look like if he was off. And they was constantly giving him tests to try to catch him, like with the coin, like with the taxes, trying to make it look like if he was teaching people to go against Caesar and so forth. They was trying to find different ways to confound him or to make him look bad in front of people. If they said this, they said, tempting him, that they might have to accuse him. But Mashiach stooped down and with his finger wrote on the ground, as though he heard them not. So when they continued asking him, he lifted up himself and said unto them, he that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her. And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground. And they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience, went out one by one, beginning at the eldest, even unto the last. And Mashiach was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. You understand? And this woman really represents what? Israel. Because at some point in time, before we came into the truth, we were all caught in some kind of idolatry. And even adultery, as in, messing with other men's wives and so forth. It had brothers that did that in the past. It had brothers that took part in idolatry, whereas you have things like Christmas and all these pagan holidays, or there was even worshiping other gods. There might have been Islam. You understand? We were in those acts also, just like she was. Right? It say verse 10, it say, when Mashiach had lifted up himself and saw none but the woman, he said unto her, Woman, where are those thine accusers? Had no man condemned thee? She said, No man, Lord. And Mashiach said unto her, Neither do I condemn thee. Say, go and sin no more. And like I said, I represent the brotherhood also. For those that, and the one or two women that actually turned back. Because when you're actually made whole, and you actually understand these things, what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to go forth and sin no more. You're not supposed to go back in those things that you used to be doing. But you realize it's a pattern. He keep telling them what? To sin no more. If sin was no longer a problem, why would he tell them not to sin anymore? You understand? And why would even the apostles teach the same thing? And all these scriptures is making that simple point. Like I say, I'll go through another topic pertaining to like the grace and so forth. What people like to talk about, because you're under grace now, that means that that you're no longer affected by sin. But if that was the case, why would he tell them these things? He was fully aware of what his purpose was. It said it's Matthew 5, verse 17. And for those that know, whenever you see the writing in red, that means it's Mashiach talking himself, right? So he was telling them these things, right? It's the thing not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. You understand? Say not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Because he came to do it, and we also have to do it. We wouldn't do it perfectly like he did, as in we will never transgress, but we have to uphold these things. Right? Let's go back to what? Your faith and your works. By faith, what you will actually do the work. And one of the works is to what? Is to keep these things. Even though you mightn't be 100% of it, you're supposed to uphold these things. Right? It says, for verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. Now, we know that the sacrificial laws don't stand anymore because we already had the ultimate sacrifice, which is Mashiach. But you still have to keep the others, like the ordinances. You understand? It have, the feast days. It have certain laws like the eating laws. Those laws still apply. Even though this system like to teach that those laws don't apply anymore, they still do apply. You're still abominable to eat swine and shrimp. You understand? You're still supposed to keep the Sabbath. You're still supposed to keep Passover. These things have not been done away with. Because even after Mashiach died, they still used to keep the Passover. Even Mashiach kept the Passover, which was called what? The Last Supper. These things have not been done away with. The people were just taught that it was. You understand? It say verse 19, it say, whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. And that is the penalty for these people that is break these things and teach others that it's okay to break them. You understand? Because these things still stand. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. You understand? And it's like I say, it have many scriptures that show you similar things. Many scriptures. The Lord is important. Even though we mightn't be able to keep it 100% like Mashiach did. Even though we won't keep it slack here. Even though we mightn't keep it 100% like Mashiach did, we're supposed to keep these things because they are not done away with. People like to say, well, we in the new covenant. We're not in the new covenant yet. We in the old covenant still. We have the promise of the new covenant. Because in the new covenant, it says what? It's, in Hebrews 8:6, it say he will establish a new covenant. And it say the laws will be written in the inward parts. That hasn't happened yet. You understand? We have the promise of the new covenant that is to come. But we still in the old covenant. You understand? We still under the law. And even in the kingdom, we will still be keeping the law. We will just be doing it perfectly. That we will never go off or never do anything wrong. You understand? We won't have to teach with true in the law anymore, because they were born knowing the law. You understand? But you still had to keep the law. I have a reason why this system keep training people and programming them to go against the law, because they know that the Messiah is a God that hates iniquity, transgressors. You understand? Once you go in against the law, the Lord wouldn't dwell with you as you're supposed to. That is why they keep trying to train people to go against the scriptures and to go against the law. That is it's called what? In war, it's called a divide and conquer. Say they 2 Peter 2. I'll start from 20, right? It says, for if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of the Lord and Savior Yahushua Mashiach, and that pollution refers to what? To all our wickedness, all that sin, all those sinful acts, the breakings of the law. That is the pollution they're talking about. They ain't talking about waste and garbage, actual waste and garbage, and dirty water. It's not the kind of Captain Planet kind of pollution. They're talking about actual lawlessness, polluting yourself by doing wickedness according to the scriptures. Right? It say knowledge of the Lord and Savior Yahushua Mashiach. It said they are again entangled therein, meaning you go back and do the same wickedness, the same sinful deeds that you know you're supposed to stop doing and continue to never do anymore. Right? You go back being how you used to be, knowing that it's wrong. It say and overcome, right? It say the latter end is worse with them than the beginning. Meaning, you was doing wickedness before in the world, committing adultery, idolatry, all of these wickedness. You learn the truth, and then you still go back doing the same thing, knowing that it's wrong. You say your end will be worse. Your end will be worse now than when it started off. And all these scriptures showing you what? That you're supposed to stop sinning. You're supposed to stop transgression. Scriptures talk about in Sirach, where they say, offend less. You understand? Offend less. It says verse 21, it say, for it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness, than after they have known it, to turn from the holy commandments delivered unto them. It said, and to turn from the holy commandments delivered unto them. And breaking the commandments is what? Is sin. You understand? So to turn from the holy commandments. So the scriptures tell you not to turn from the commandments, which is contrary to what this system does teach you. This system does teach you that, it's okay to do these things now. Right? It say, but, verse 22, it say, but it has happened unto them according to the proverb, to the true proverb, the dog is returned to his own vomit again, and the sow that was washed to her wallowing is in myrrh. You understand? A dog returning to his own vomit. See, you're going back to your same waste, and it have penalties for that. Right? They say the latter end of that person is worse than the first. The scripture even talk about that in Luke, where it say he will be appointed as his portion with the hypocrites. Right? So I hope it was edifying. There's just a few precepts going through talking about how it's not okay to transgress, contrary to what these churches and these other beliefs like to talk about. You understand? It's not a good thing, or it's not a normal thing to actually sin against the Lord. Now it will happen from time to time, but it's not something that you go about doing thinking that it's something normal or it's something cool. It's not cool. In the past, when you grew up with your parents, you could never not do what your parents say and say, well, it's a cool scene, right, Dad? Right, Mom? It's a cool scene. No, they'll break you in half. Especially if you want to act like it's nothing, they'll break you in half. It's never a cool thing to transgress your parents. And the Most High is referred to what? The Father of all spirits. You understand? He is referred to as your parent. And it doesn't change with him either. You understand? Even though he might transgress from time to time, never watch it like a light thing. It's not a light thing to transgress the Lord. Right? And I hope it was edifying. With that, I'd like to say Kal Halayim, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakak Badash, double honors the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and salutation to the Akim around the world that push the truth to the four corners of the earth. This is Yaraba from the GMS Trinidad East Camp saying Shalom, Akim, stay strong.